Hey everyone, this is Erica Sabo. Welcome to another episode of Mind Bit. Hey everybody, I hope you're well. So today I'm going to be doing a top list I've been meaning to do for a long time now, especially since I'm now doing anime reviews, and that is my top 20 anime of all time. Yes, I'm finally covering anime. I'm finally doing this. This is something I've been wanting to do for a long time. I've been watching anime for a long time, so this is going to be covering both old and new, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. I'm going to be offering maybe like little synopses for each of these, but just a little. Just like all my other top lists, it's going to be much more about my impressions, much more about themes involved, and just what I thought of it, what made it tick, what made me like it so much, things like that. Keep in mind, there are going to be some things that you will not see on this list, and you might be like, why is it not on your list, right? Like there's a lot of really popular series that I either just couldn't get into, I haven't really spent enough time with, there's so many things, there's so many factors, but that's kind of the fun part about it, is that sort of variation, right? I might have things on my list that you've never heard of, or you might have things on your list that I've never heard of, or I haven't seen, or I haven't spent enough time with, right? But luckily there is a lot of variation on this list, so no matter what kind of genre you enjoy, you will probably find something you really enjoy. Now keep in mind, unlike my past top lists, there is not going to be an order to this one. Yeah, I'm pretty lame. I'm pretty lame, and I just could not do it. And maybe that's because I am covering different genres. If I was covering one genre, whether we're talking like horror or magical girl or deconstruction anime or anything like that, this would be a totally different story, but yeah, it's just not something I can do. So I'm just going to be offering a bunch of series that maybe you should consider watching. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not for you, who knows? So yeah, I guess let's get started. Now, it wouldn't be right for me to start this top series without covering the anime that started it all for me, and that is Sailor Moon. Whether we're talking Sailor Moon the first season, or Sailor Moon Stars, or the manga and all of it in between, this is a series that truly got me into anime, even before I knew what anime was. It was a gateway for a lot of people, same with anime like Dragon Ball Z, right? But it's something that may be a bit on the cliche side, considering we're talking about a group of magical girls out to fight this all-encompassing evil. However, it was so much more than that, and it wasn't just the nostalgia talking either. There's something really special about this anime in the fact that, unlike several other magical girl animes at the time and before, these girls don't necessarily want to be in the position they're in, particularly Usagi. She wants to be a regular girl. She wants to go and play video games. She wants to go and daydream over boys, you know, things that a lot of people want to do, but she needs to balance her duty with life itself. Is she able to do that? It's something you find out in the anime, and it's something I really enjoy, that she does not want to take on these responsibilities, yet she has no choice. And the fight is the most interesting part. Sure, there's kind of a monster of the week vibe going on there, but that doesn't stop it from being a really interesting, engaging anime. Very entertaining, very silly. It's all around wonderful in a sense, because it covers so many grounds and it's so likable for just about anybody. It doesn't really matter who you are. There's a market for everybody in this show. And yeah, it's something that I find very intriguing looking back at the genre, now that I've watched so many magical girl animes, is that it really changes things up, and it really changes the idea of magical girl animes, and it created a very nice base for transcending that genre. I'm very excited to hear that they are going to be doing a reboot, and I think this is exactly why they're going to be doing a reboot, actually, is because it stood out in that respect so much. It tried to be so unlike a magical girl anime while still being one. I really respect that a lot, and it's definitely worthy of being on this list. Definitely worthy. Now this segues well into my next anime of choice, and that is Puella Magi Madoka Magica. You may or may not have heard of this one. I'm sure you probably heard of it. Some of you may think that it is overhyped, perhaps. And in many ways, yes, I would say so. However, at the same time, you can't deny the fact that it is a quality anime. And it is one that's very well paced considering how short it is. Like, every episode has purpose. And it covers very serious topics and very dark themes considering it is part of the magical girl genre. It's also part of the deconstruction genre, which I consider a genre in many ways. It's something that actually deconstructs everything about magical girls, and it looks at the repercussions of being a magical girl, and it looks at themes such as uncertainty and the fear of the unknown as things that are very scary for a lot of people, and it turns into a very scary series in several ways. Now, of course, when you look at it for face value, which I looked at for face value for a long time, I did not like it. I did not like the visual style. I thought it wasn't going to be for me at all. But when you look past that, when you actually start watching the series and you start seeing how much it starts chipping away at these cliches, it gets pretty unsettling. It gets pretty unsettling, and something that I greatly enjoyed. I loved it. I loved it very much so. And it was kind of a rude awakening, actually, after, like, I think it's about the 4th episode where it really starts to ramp up. It really starts to ramp up, and it just goes to show you how far studios are willing to go to really get your heart pumping. I think Puella really did that well, and I think that anime like Sailor Moon did a really great job of creating a base for that. Sure, Sailor Moon didn't take the kind of risks that Puella did, but Puella was very much so motivated by things that anime like Sailor Moon did. Anime that were willing to kind of go off the beaten path. However, Puella did it to a whole other extent, and something that I really respect, something that was risky, yet something that turned out to be amazing, and a wonderful risk. A wonderful, wonderful risk. Definitely worth checking out. Now, with deconstruction anime in mind, my next pick is Neon Genesis Evangelion. Love it or hate it, this is an anime that really stood out in the mech genre for me and for many people. It's something that is very similar, actually, to magical girl animes in that it puts characters in a position where they have no control over their fates. You know, they're on a mission that they can't get away from. And that's how it is with these different Eva pilots fighting this all-encompassing evil, the angels. This is an evil that is way beyond them, yet they are expected to fight. This is, that's a lot of weight to put on some 14-year-olds' shoulders. That's a lot of weight. And it's something that I find very interesting and something that's been explored several times before. However, what's really interesting about Neon Genesis Evangelion is the way it chips away at the genre, and it chips away at the characters, and it chips away at the entire story altogether. And it starts questioning, what are the angels and what is the true purpose of these pilots? Something I really enjoyed about this anime, if you are willing to go through it and find out. It is a bit on the slow side in terms of telling you that. It kind of like beats around the bush a lot. It doesn't want to. However, when it does get to it, it gets to it. It hits you hard. It hits you very hard. And despite the fact that, yes, there are a lot of cliches in this series, particularly, let's say we're talking about the characters. Characters are very cliche. As the series progresses, it tears them down. It tears them down very effectively. I don't want to say that's a good thing. I don't want to say that's a bad thing. I kind of feel bad for them half the time, to be honest. But it's something that needs to happen in a deconstruction anime. It's something where we get to explore their psyches, where we get to explore like their deep insecurities, things that some of them are more open about, some of them aren't. We get to learn about all these different secrets. I think that's what I like most, is I like learning about all these different secrets and figuring out what exactly is going on. So yeah, this is one of those series. This is something that towards the end, I know some of you might be like, oh, what happened to the budget, right? Like, there's definitely some budget cuts that were going on towards the end. So it turned into a very existential series to a whole other extent, like visually so, but I found it to actually work very well. Like their budget cuts worked very well with the matter at hand. Now, of course, we have the end of Evangelion too, which some people love it or hate it, but I found it to be a really wonderful second conclusion to the series. The series ends with conclusion A, and ends with conclusion B. Very different conclusions, yet very connected in the same way. So yeah, it's that's the way I like to think of it without giving any sort of spoilers. I think that they're one and the same. I think that they are just different perspectives. So I really enjoy this series, and if you are into deconstruction animes, if you're into seeing people get torn to bits and just like mentally torn to bits, then you know this might be for you. This might be for you. Despite those cliche images at first, I'd maybe give it a try and see what it's all about and see what makes it tick, because that's definitely what got me going, and it's still one of my favorites. I love it so much. Now that said, you don't necessarily need a deep anime full of substance in order to have a fun time. Actually, there's some really amazing lighthearted anime out there that are extremely entertaining. One in mind is Outlaw Star. This is a really great sci-fi adventure anime that I greatly enjoy, especially because of the fact that when I did watch it when I was younger, like much younger, I was in my early teens, I was also watching a lot of other very deep anime, and there's a point where when you watch a lot of deep anime, you kind of get lost in your head, and I would like to be more grounded, and this is just the anime for that. It stars a ragtag team of space adventurers, and they're all for the ride. And it really feels that way. It's very, it's very much about being part of the ride and just enjoying it for what it is. Sure, it had some cliche characters in it, a lot of humor, keep in mind. When you have cliche characters like that, it's very easy to make fun of them. But it does add a little bit more substance to them, and it adds a bit more backstory, and lets you get to know them a bit more too. So it has that compelling nature to it as well, and it had some really great animation too. But it's just an entertaining anime that I got to enjoy, and it really did keep me grounded despite the fact that it is a sci-fi anime. It brought me back to reality, and it was something that I really enjoyed growing up, and something that still stands out to me now. It's something that I always recommend to people when they're like, oh, well, what anime would you recommend from the 90s? And I have a huge list, which I will not go over right now because I'll end up revealing quite a few other picks that you'll see in later videos for my series here. But it's something that, if you are looking for something lighter, if you are looking for something just fun and entertaining and without as much substance, then go for it. Honestly, go for it, and you will not regret it. Another anime like that, but to a whole other extent, is another amazing anime by Gainax, and that is Fooly Cooly. Yeah, this is a crazy one. This is a crazy anime, and this is not one you're really supposed to think too much about, just like Outlaw Star. This is, I don't even know what it's about, to be honest. It's full of everything you could imagine within anime and just kind of smashes it all into one. And in that way, it's very humorous because it's a parody of so many other genres. And I like parody animes a lot, especially when they're done right. And I think Fooly Cooly is one of those examples. This is a very short series. This is only 6 episodes. But it is full of action, it's full of intrigue, it's full of coming of age and all these things, but in the end, what's its true purpose? It's to have fun. It's to have fun, and it has this impeccable art style to it that works really well with the chaotic feel of the series. We're not even going to talk about pacing in this series because it's practically non-existent. If you want to just have a fun time, something that totally is just bonkers. Like, this isn't even like Outlaw Star in that it's lighthearted and entertaining. This is just a crazy series. You will probably really enjoy it. You might not. It might be a little too chaotic, but it's at least worth checking out. It's definitely one of those anime that you need to check out at least once, especially because it's so short too, right? But it's something else entirely, and it knows how to be itself. I think that was one of my favorite parts, is that it's not afraid to be itself. It's not afraid to be weird. It's not afraid to be this bizarre series that people are like, what the hell is this? See the first episode and you're like, what the heck is going on? You know, it's just like, yeah, I know. I'm aware. I'm aware. And it just wants you to be entertained, and it does just that. So that's my first 5 top 20 anime. I'm gonna do it in 5s just because I don't want these videos to end up being too long. I can't even imagine how long a top 20 would be all by itself. So I'm thinking that I am probably going to be doing the next one next week, and I'll just be doing it in a weekly fashion. But these are my first 5, no order at all in this, no order whatsoever. But I found that what was really great about doing this so far has been that they're all connected in their own ways, and it's fun exploring those connections and seeing how we can connect one series from something entirely different, or what you would think would be entirely different, right? So stay tuned for 6 through 10 next week. I'll probably be doing that next Friday. I'll just do this whole like a Friday thing or something like that. But yeah, so I really hope you enjoyed, and if you want to give me a little peek at some of your favorite anime, no list, doesn't really matter, you know, no like top list, doesn't have to have an order or anything like that, but some of your favorites I'd be interested in seeing. And I really hope you enjoy the rest of my list too, because there are 15 others that I have not yet talked about that I am so excited for. I am so excited to reveal. So I really hope you enjoy. Have a great day, guys. All right, peace.